Right now on this new house. This sunny California home is maintenance-free, has room for a crowd, and pays its own bills. Kevin's got 2 new ways to install floor tiles without the mess.
Click them together, and you have got a brand new parking spot.
Plus, windows that can actually protect your home from hurricane-force winds. And what it takes to transform old roofing shingles into your next driveway.
We're going coast to coast
To find the latest, greatest,
and coolest stuff for your house.
I'm Amy Matthews.
I'm Kevin O'Connor, and this
Is this new house?
People are pushing the envelope on building standards all over the country, but some are pushing it farther than others. When Linda Yates and her husband Paul Holland decided to build their dream home on her family property near Silicon Valley, they set themselves an ambitious goal.
We decided that when we were going to build a house, we wanted to build as green a house as possible, and hopefully the greenest house in its class, if you will.
Green has become so overused. It's a term that's used to sell products as opposed to even just give an idea of how we build.
A better word than green would be sustainable, but we actually have a word that we like even better, which is regenerative. If you think about sustainable, that's really kind of doing things better. Regenerative is really doing better things.
The result? A 5,600 square foot luxury home that outscores its peers in LEED Platinum building standards, and it's built for only 2 to 5% more than a traditional similar sized home. But what does regenerative building really mean? For Linda, it comes down to 4 big things: energy, materials, water and waste, and habitat. The energy story starts with insulation.
I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. What is this?
You haven't. It's a fiberglass insulation. It's 50% recycled materials, including plastic bottles and sand. It's the same R value almost as closed cell. And what's really fabulous about it is, look, it just crumbles.
Because the fiberglass is not stuck to the framing like foam, it can be separated from the frame for remodeling or recycling later on. Windows are the next line of defense for keeping energy where you want it.
What are these, 12 feet?
12 feet by 4 feet 6, and I want you to touch them and feel how cool they are, despite the fact that you can see the sun beaming through them.
Okay, you have the California sun, mid-afternoon, beating on these windows, and it's absolutely cool to the touch.
This is why we need no air conditioning, and we need almost no heat.
Now that we know how to keep the energy inside, we can worry about where it comes from. This house burns no fossil fuels and makes more energy than it needs.
How many panels are up there? That is a heck of a lot of panels.
There are about 118, and what's really interesting about that is this tells you how efficient the house is. Only 50% of those panels are needed for the house, and the rest of them are actually there for the transportation.
The photovoltaic southern-facing panels produce 21 kilowatts of power. That's enough to provide electricity to the home, 5 electric cars, and still return energy to the grid. Where the sun leaves off, the earth picks up. Geothermal tubing runs 350 feet deep using the earth's heat to warm water in a closed-loop system.
The geothermal actually is doing 2 fundamental things. It's powering the pool, the heat for the pool.
Love that.
And it is fueling the radiant heating and cooling system.
On to the next big thing on Linda's list, materials.
Materials are probably one of the most exciting stories about the project because there's actually only 4 materials. We went back to basics. There's stone, there's wood, there's glass, and there's metal. One of our goals was no newly quarried stone. Every piece of stone you see on this job is out of the bone pile someplace. It's either reclaimed or it's literally was a reject.
All of the wood used inside and out is FSC certified or reclaimed. The oak floors are salvaged from old granary barns. The cedar walls are cut from sustainable forests. The trusses are Douglas fir. And the kitchen island is an entire salvaged black walnut tree. The final material is metal.
Here's the roof.
Oh, that is beautiful.
It's a Follensby stainless steel roof. It is a 100-year roof and it requires 0 maintenance.
This stainless steel roof is the starting point for the next big thing on Linda's list, water and waste.
One of the biggest goals for us was no city water except in our taps.
Okay.
So 100% of the landscaping is fueled either by rainwater, which we harvest off of our roof, and we can actually harvest 110,000 gallons off of our roof.
Wow.
Or from our wastewater. And this is the cistern.
Aha, so it all ends up down in here. Can I open this up?
Absolutely.
Really?
So it's a 50,000 gallon cistern. And as you can see, it's actually already full.
50,000 gallons. So this thing is like a little mini football field underneath here.
It is. So besides our rainwater system, we also have a wastewater system. We're actually recycling all of our water, including our sewage.
Instead of depending on city sewers, they're reusing their wastewater in an underground irrigation system.
Wow, so your filtration system has to be killer, like literally.
Exactly.
And that's the next big thing, habitat.
So the wastewater,
Hired a team of wildlife biologists to identify and remove all non-native flora and fauna.
we actually designed our landscape and our site plan to invite the wildlife in, everywhere but the organic garden.
So instead of putting up a fence and enclosing yourself, you actually opened yourself up and invited nature into your backyard.
Exactly. And that extends to the pool. These are bogs. Ultimately, this will be drained. It'll be filled with gravel and water plants, and it will actually create habitat for amphibians. It will create a water source for the local wildlife.
Everything you're doing here, you're setting yourself in the middle of nature and letting it all kind of come around you. It's pretty phenomenal.
This regenerative house is built to debunk the 3 big myths of green building.
The first is that it's ugly. You have to live in a concrete box with no windows, and hopefully we're doing a good job debunking that myth. The second is that it's twice as expensive. Really, that's not true. You get to subtract out all the operating costs because when you build sustainably, you have almost none. We have no heating costs, no air conditioning costs. Then the last myth is you have to completely change your lifestyle. And that's just fundamentally not true.
Okay, so we're done with those myths.
We're done with those myths.